In this video, I'm going to show you quickly how to get started with quizzes in the Owwlish course platform. So, assuming you've logged into your account, you're just going to go to any of your courses. I'll choose the editor course here. And you can see that these are our regular lessons. Here's our sections, here's our lessons underneath. Quizzes act similar in structure to a section so that they can be put in between sections of any type. Mostly after a previous section. So there's two ways to do it. Number one, you can just click on this and click on Add Quiz here, or you can actually go to the Quizzes tab, and you can see that I've created a quiz here named Temp. I'll actually rename that to just Quiz 1. And you can see that Quiz 1 is also available down here as well. I can see Quiz 1 here. So if I want to add a new one, let's say I want to move Quiz 1 up right below section 1, and then I want to have another quiz down here under section 2. The way I would do that is to click on quiz, create new quiz there. I'm going to name this quiz 2, save it, and I'll just move and drag that up to right underneath section 2. I believe that's where that goes. Section 1 now, and then section 2. So that way this quiz comes right after section 1. So the last lesson, and then they'll be able to take quiz 2. Now to actually edit the quiz and get started building it, I should say, you can either click right here, or again, you can go up to here and just click on the name Quiz 2 to get started building your quiz. So just to give you kind of a layout of this, we have our quiz types over here. So if I hover over these, I can see all the different types of questions. I should say question types, not quiz types. These are all the question types I can bring into my quiz. On the other side, I have a little button up here. This is our settings menu, and so this will allow us to set, general settings about our quiz. We can change the title here. We can show a quiz complete page and change some of the messages that are displayed to our learners, and we can even set a timer if we wanted to give sort of a limit to that and show that timer either on the top or bottom. So there's some general settings here. Now, if I go again over here, I can choose which kind of questions I want to get started with and bring over. So we can just start with a true or false. If I drag that over, that will work, or I can just click the Add Question button there. So for this one, let's add a question, is Earth the fourth planet from the Sun, right? So there's a nice true-false question. Now you can see by default there's a yes or a no, so that would be a perfectly fine response for this question, yes or no. Or if I want to actually go with a true or false, I prefer that terminology, I can actually go down into the settings area. So just to show you, I clicked on that settings here, and that brings up the settings sidebar. And then I can actually go in here and change the true false labels to something like true and false. Just set them as to what they are, or whatever I want it to be, and that does that. Now I can also add a required button. I can even say here, I can say something, please describe why you chose this. So what I'm doing here is adding a comment area if I want for this particular question. So now, not only do they have to choose true or false, they have to tell me why they chose it there. So that's just some options that we can add. Other types of questions, there's multiple response. So this is where you'd have, now multiple response means they can choose more than one response. So let's say choose all that apply, and then favorite colors. And I can just say, blue, green, and yellow. Now that's, I believe, these are all the ones that are going to be displayed. If I want to add a fourth one, I might do, another one here. So now we have 4 different colors. I can continue to add as many as I want, and again, I can go into settings and look through the different settings. There's different ways of configuring this. You can sort them in any order and all that kind of stuff. We have a few other ones that might be worthwhile. This is multiple choice. The difference between this is that they only can choose one item instead of multiple items. So in this question they could choose blue, green, yellow, and brown. In this they have to choose just one of those items. So that's the multiple choice. And then we also have an image picker. Now this will kind of preload some generic images that we have. But the idea here is that you'd say something like, which image shows a camel, right? So that would be, obviously these are super basic questions I'm giving. But this kind of question could be helpful for maybe anything where they have to learn maybe some subtleties between different states. Maybe this is it could be useful for a medical type course or something like that. And a few other things I want to point out. We have also short and long answers. So again, if you have a question that you want them to answer, in one line, that would be great for a short answer. If you want it to be a paragraph, then you can have them switch to a long answer and you'll get more of a paragraph response. So that just and you can go in and set how many lines you want it to be and things like that. A lot of these you can even add placeholders. So you could just say write your thoughts here, and then that will show up kind of in gray right there. And then finally we have these two, which is like an HTML and an image. Now these may or may not be of too much use for a lot of folks, but if you want just a nice, more attractive picture at the top, you could drag that up and change the picture out to what you want it to be. If you have a logo, if you have something that you need to show that image with. And then just in general, you can add some context. Maybe you want to show a message between sections. That's not it's not a question, it's just you want to say, hey, in the next couple questions you're going to be talking about X, Y, and Z, and you can change that and put some HTML there, which will gives them some more context about the questions that they're going to see. The next few questions we'll be asking about how you feel right now, whatever. And then that will show up right here. All right, so these are the questions we've covered. Now there's one more thing I want to showcase, which is some conditions. We call these kind of conditional logic. Let's say that I only want them to, if I have this question here about my favorite colors, but let's say I only want this color question to show up if they chose the right answer for the true and false. So what I could do is go up to the very top and click on question rules, and I can create a rule that just says, and first of all, let's look and see what numbers we need first. So we'll just say if question 1 equals true, then, and then we can say here, actually we have too many of these. Then we can say the condition is then the action, is show or hide a question. Show question 2. So just to be clear, if question 1 is true, then show or hide question 2. Now I could either say, right now that's kind of automatic, it's already showing. So if you can see question 1 is true, this one will show up, right? But let's just preview this and see what that looks like. If I want to see how that actually is going to work, we can get a little sneak peek about that. So we go to this quiz here. Right now you can see that question about the colors is missing. And if I click on false, it doesn't show up. But if I click on true, suddenly I get this question. So that's how you can use sort of like rules to showcase additional questions based on previous questions, which I think is a neat little thing. All right, so that's the question rules. You can play around with these if you want. You can add a lot of these if you want. And then as you just saw, there's a way to kind of preview your quiz, and that's just by clicking the preview button. And that's it. You've built your quiz. After a learner completes that quiz, they'll be able to see whether they passed or not. And down the road, we're going to be adding a lot more features in terms of reporting. For now, what you can do, though, is you can go into your learners area, and you can click on one of your learners' names, and you can actually see how they're doing with some of your quizzes. I don't have an example right here, but you can see in some cases whether they passed or not, and what the questions were, question types, points scored, whether they got it correct, and then the score, even how long they took on some questions. And so that's an easy way to just kind of get a feel for how people are doing. And of course, you'd want to select your quiz from the quizzes that they've completed. So that's a simple way of doing that. The other thing you can do as well, just to kind of get an idea how people are doing, is to go to reports here, and then you can click on leaderboard statistics, where you can see who did the best so far, and you can even narrow it down by quizzes, as well as quiz results in general, and you can get a kind of an output of all of the questions you have and how everyone's doing. You can even download this as a CSV file, which is kind of neat. So there's different ways to interact with this data. We're going to be adding more and more reporting down the road, but we just have some kind of initial reports at this moment because we're still early on with this feature and building it out. Hopefully that helps, and if you have any questions, of course, let us know. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love your feedback as well. Thanks.